What's up, horror lovers? You ever feel like something's watching you in the dark? Like, not just creepy vibes, but real skin-crawling, hair-standing-up terror? Well, buckle up, because tonight's story isn't just a late-night paranoia trip. It's a full-on descent into a roadside nightmare in the heart of Nebraska. Wide open skies, endless fields, and just enough pitch-black corners to swallow your sanity whole. Let's get into it. It started like any other laid-back spring night. Our narrator, 18, fearless-ish, and rolling to the edge of Nebraska's biggest city, was headed to a buddy's place that sat right where the suburbs blur into cornfields. You know the type? Massive house, lots of land, practically designed for horror movie setups. But it wasn't horror yet. Just music on the stereo, windows down, cool breeze whispering through the car. One of those perfect nights you never see coming. The road leading to the house wasn't just quiet, it was suffocating. A two-way stretch flanked by thick trees, the kind that turn into towering silhouettes after dark. And yeah, of course there's a cemetery. Gotta pass right by one of the city's biggest. A classic, right? The type of place you drive a little faster through. Not because of ghosts, but because deep down, your gut knows better. Even the street lamps seem to keep their distance. So she's vibing. Music low. No cars in sight. Just headlights carving a path through the dark. That's when it hits her. Slam the brakes. Hard. Because up ahead, standing dead center in the road, is _family_. Not a deer, not some local creeper. A whole-ass family. No flashlights. No phones. Just silhouettes lit by headlights. A woman, a man, a child, and a stroller. A fucking stroller. In the middle of nowhere. At 10 p.m. With no lights. That's not weird. That's horror movie weird. She stops, thinking they'll move. They don't. They don't even flinch. Just keep walking. Backs to her, silent. No sounds, no conversation, no motion to the side. Just existing. Like they're floating through the dark, unaware, or maybe uncaring, that she's even there. It's like she stumbled onto something not meant to be seen. And then they stop, all at once. Like someone hit pause on a VHS tape. Then, like puppets on invisible strings, they slowly turn to face her car. Now imagine this. You're alone in your car. There's nothing but fields and forests around you. These strangers just _turn_. Not one at a time. Together. Deliberate. And here's the kicker. She doesn't wait to see their faces. Because whatever instinct we've got buried deep inside, the part that tells us when we're prey, starts screaming. She throws the car in reverse and floors it. No hesitation. Just pure electric panic. She drives backwards for what feels like forever. Every heartbeat thudding louder than the tires on the road. Then a wild U-turn, almost crashing off the pavement. And she's gone. Booked it out of there like her life depended on it. And maybe it did, because when she glanced in the rear-view mirror, expecting to see them, there was nothing. Just road. No shadows. No stroller. No family. Just emptiness swallowing the last place they'd stood. Now, let's talk about that stroller. Because that's what stuck with her the most. It wasn't just out of place. It was _wrong_. Empty. Just rolling there behind the woman, like a dark joke. You ever seen something that shouldn't be empty? Like a crib with no baby? A swing moving with no one around? That kind of chill. That kind of unease that wraps around your spine and whispers, _something isn't right here. And what do you do after something like that? You tell your friends, right? Try to make sense of it. But when she asked her buddy and his family about that stretch of road, they just stared. Blank faces. Like she was speaking a language they didn't understand. Or maybe didn't _want_ to understand. That's when you start questioning yourself. Like, did I imagine it? Am I losing it? But the fear? That never goes away. Some people laugh when they hear the story. Others go dead quiet. And then there are the ones who just nod, slowly, like they've seen something similar. Like they've driven down roads where shadows don't behave, and headlights catch more than just trees. Because this isn't the kind of tale that needs a jump scare. It's the kind that crawls inside your memory and lives there rent-free. Now, let's look at the possibilities. Option 1. Some twisted family decided to go full Blair Witch and scare the hell out of a random driver for fun. Could happen, right? But who wanders a pitch-black rural road with no lights, no cars nearby? An empty stroller at 10 p.m., unless you try to get hit or trying to be seen. Option 2, a distraction, maybe a setup, lure a driver out of their car, so someone else can creep up from the woods. Robbery, abduction, worse. And yet, no one ever showed up. No one ran at her car. No second figures in the trees. Just silence. As if that moment was the point. As if she was meant to see them, and then leave. And then there's option 3. The one you don't want to say out loud. The otherworldly _1. What if that family wasn't a family? What if they weren't people? Nebraska has a long, weird history. Old land. Buried secrets. Maybe what she saw wasn't meant for her world at all. Maybe she drove to the wrong place at the wrong time and caught a glimpse of something crossing over. And maybe, just maybe, that family wasn't walking away from her car. Maybe they were leading something Maybe that empty stroller wasn't a symbol of absence, but of invitation, a placeholder, a vacancy, like whatever was supposed to be in there hadn't arrived. And when they turned, maybe it wasn't curiosity. Maybe it was disappointment. So here's your takeaway, horror lovers. Next time you're driving through a dark stretch of road, windows down, music up, and everything feels a little too still, trust that gut. Don't wait. Don't look too long. And whatever you do, don't get out of the car, because Nebraska might look empty, but the dark has passengers you've never seen. Imagine you're driving through the American heartland, dusty roads, old wooden signs, the kind of scenery that makes you feel like time gave up on this place decades ago. Now imagine you stumble across a town you swear wasn't on any map. Welcome to the story of the town with no name. Or maybe it had one, but it doesn't matter, because once you enter this place, you never really leave. It all started around 5 p.m., golden hour, the kind of light that makes even ghost towns look warm. Our narrator and their travel companion spotted a weathered sign on the roadside. Population, 200-something. The number was faded, like even the town wasn't sure how many still lived there. They saw a gas station, a hotel, a small camp, and a lonely diner named Pat's. Seemed quiet, too quiet. As they pulled into the gas station, that silence got heavy. No one on the sidewalks, no movement in the windows, not even the buzz of a single insect. Just stillness. While refueling, they gazed across the station lot. Old brick buildings, dusty glass, and peeling paint. That's when they saw it. A twitch, a flicker of movement in one of the second-story windows above the garage. The blinds were tilted just enough to reveal what looked like a small, pale child staring back. But something was off. The child had no hair, and when it noticed it was being watched, it didn't duck or flinch. It drifted back into the shadows, like it had never been there at all. That was enough to make them skip snacks and hit the gas. They didn't get far. A few blocks down, they saw Pat's Diner, the only place in town with lights on and a glowing open sign. The parking lot had 2 cars. Not much, but enough to make it seem occupied. Hungry and curious, they pulled in. As they stepped out, a strange contradiction hit them. Outside, silence. Inside, laughter. Dozens of voices chatting, clinking cutlery, murmurs and joy. It felt like walking toward the warmth of a fireplace in a frozen house. But that warmth, it was fake. They opened the door. That's when everything broke. All at once, the sound died. Conversations halted mid-laugh. Forks froze in midair. People stopped chewing. I turned to stare at them. Not just look. Stare. Like prey, just wandered into the den. There weren't 10 or 15 people like they expected. No, there were over 50, packed into a tiny diner like sardines, and all of them were smiling, vacantly, as if someone had told them what a smile should look like, but never taught them why. Seconds passed, but it felt like hours. The air was syrup thick, hard to breathe. Our narrator could feel their own heartbeat in their ears. Then, from the nearest booth, a sound, fabric creaking, a movement. An old woman turned toward them, so slowly it looked painful. She wore a tattered shawl, yellowed with age. Her skin was waxy and dry. But the worst part? She had 2 eye patches. Not 1, 2, covering both sockets. And still, she saw them. Somehow. "What do you want here?" she hissed. Not asked, hissed, like a threat wrapped in curiosity. The kind of tone you hear in a nightmare right before something grabs your ankle. One of the friends muttered something about just passing through. Another reached for the door, but it wouldn't budge. Locked on the inside. They hadn't noticed it when they came in. Panic was setting in now. The smiles around the room didn't falter. They only widened. The old woman cocked her head. Her lips twisted into something that wasn't quite a grin. "We don't get many outsiders anymore," she croaked. "Not since the change." Before anyone could ask what she meant, the lights flickered, then dimmed. That awful silence returned. No breathing, no shuffling, no nothing. Then came the footsteps. Not human ones. Sharp, rapid, clicking sounds from the kitchen door. Something was approaching. Something fast. The kitchen door burst open. But nothing came out. Just a wave of cold, like open a freezer in hell. The crowd remained still, staring, smiling. Their eyes, if you could call them that, were glazed over. "Empty!" Someone screamed. One of the companions turned and bolted toward the back exit. But the moment they touched the handle, the lights snapped off completely. Darkness swallowed everything. And in that darkness, breathing, not their own, wet, guttural, clothes. Our narrator fumbled for their phone, turning on the flashlight. The beam landed on the booth where the old woman sat. Only now, she wasn't sitting. She was standing, floating. Her feet hovered inches above the floor, and under her eye patches, thick black fluid dripped down her cheeks. The crowd began to move now, jerky, unnatural motions, as if their limbs were being yanked by invisible strings. One of the companions shouted that they had to leave. Now! They shoved a chair to the front window, glass shattering in an explosion of sound. Nobody inside flinched. Nobody chased. But the second their feet hit the sidewalk, the silence broke again. Laughter, unending, horrific laughter echoed from inside the diner, bouncing off the empty buildings like a mocking chorus. As they reached the car, tires squealing on cracked pavement, they dared one last glance back. The lights inside Pat's diner flickered back on. Every face pressed against the window, smiling, watching, waiting. And in the center of them, the old woman, her arms stretched wide, as if inviting them back for another visit. That was the last they saw of the town. The road outstretched longer than they remembered. The trees seemed thicker. The GPS lost signal. But eventually, the highway returned, and so did the world. They never found the town again. The next time they tried, there was nothing there. Just dirt. No buildings, no sign, no diner. Only the echo of distant laughter when the wind blew just right. They don't talk about it much anymore. But every now and then when they're alone, they swear they see that same black liquid in their dreams. And that same voice whispering in the dark. "What do you want here?" Hold on, because the worst part? They never answered her question. And some doors don't stay closed forever. You ever taken a wrong turn that felt more like fate than a mistake? Buckle up, because this story starts off as a dumb teenage joyride and ends somewhere way darker. Deep in the heart of southern Louisiana, where the roads twist like roots and the towns rot in silence. You're about to find out why some shortcuts aren't just bad ideas, they're damn near suicide. It all started with nothing, just boredom. 2 teenagers in an old pickup, hunting for shortcuts between cities that didn't need shortcuts. The driver, reckless, restless, 17. His friend, a sidekick in denim and fear. The southern Louisiana sun was bleeding into the trees when they veered off the main road. No signs, no signal, just cracked pavement and a trail of vines pulling the world back into the swamp. It should have been enough to turn back. But teenagers don't think like that. Not when the sky still holds light. The neighborhood came out of nowhere. No transition. No warning. Just suddenly there, houses like husks, sagging with rot. Windows barred like prison cells. One house missing a whole door. Its insides yawning open like a mouth. It didn't feel abandoned, though. Not exactly. There was this stillness. Not the peace of silence, but the kind that screams in your bones. The kind that says, _ something's watching. _ the two teens slowed down. Jokes dried up. Music cut off. Even the engines sounded quieter. They were driving through a ghost town that hadn't gotten a memo. It was dead. Something about it felt wrong in a primal. Can't quite place it way. The kind of wrong you don't argue with. You obey it. You leave. But then came the sound, soft, distant, like boots on asphalt. At first, they didn't see them. Just that creeping, crawling feeling under the skin. Then figures. A dozen, maybe more, lined up across the road, shoulder to shoulder, blocking the only path out. They hadn't been there a second ago. No one heard them come. No one saw them approach. They just appeared. And they weren't moving. It wasn't just a group. It was a wall of men. Each one stiff, still, staring. Their expressions unreadable. Some were shirtless, skin scarred and pale under the dying sun. Others wore hoodies or work jackets, worn down like the homes around them. But their eyes? Vacant. Like the lights were on, but something else was home. Something colder. The driver's hands trembled on the wheel. The friend whispered something. Nonsense, prayer, maybe both. They couldn't go back. The road behind was too narrow, too broken. Turning around would mean slowing down, stopping, vulnerable. The only option was forward, but that meant going through them. And if they didn't move, well, they weren't going to find out. Downshift, grit teeth, floor it. The truck roared like a wounded animal, engine howling, tires screeching on worn pavement. The figures didn't flinch, didn't flail. They just parted, 1 second before impact. No panic, no shouting. Each man stepping aside like this was all part of the script. They didn't even look at the truck as it flew past. They looked through it, and just like that, they were on the other side. The road stretched empty ahead, but neither teen celebrated. Not a word, not a breath. Only the sound of the tires eating distance, and the knowledge that something had changed. That moment, that wrong turn felt less like an escape and more like a warning ignored. A door opened that wouldn't shut again. They didn't talk for the rest of the ride. Didn't laugh. Didn't speak of what they'd seen. Not even when they hit pavement smooth and yellow striped. Not even when they passed the welcome sign of the next town. Something in the air was different now. The smell of sulfur clung to the vents. The static in the radio never faded. Something had followed Sleep didn't come easy that night. The driver dreamed of roads that curled in on themselves, of teeth behind broken doors, of blank faces behind every turn. His friend woke up screaming once. Something about hands on the windows. But when he looked, there were no prints. No proof. Just the echo of something waiting. Weeks passed. Then months. But the fear didn't fade. Every shortcut felt suspect. Every quiet neighborhood held shadows too thick. Then came the message, etched into the truck's dirty windshield one morning. Not written in finger smudge, but scratched into the glass. 3 words, you were seen . They tried to laugh it off. A prank, maybe. But that night, the driver's dog vanished. No tracks, no struggle, just a collar left behind, warm to the touch, as if something had just dropped it. The police said coyotes. The driver said nothing. He already knew. They hadn't escaped. They'd past a test . And something was keeping score. People started to vanish. First someone from their school, then a neighbor. No connection, no motive. But each disappearance happened near old roads, forgotten corners, places where rot lived in the walls. The driver began mapping every shortcut he'd ever taken, pinning string like spider webs on his bedroom wall. The center? That broken neighborhood. The one that didn't exist on GPS. Eventually, the friend moved away, said he needed distance, said he couldn't stand waking up at 3:33 every night anymore, couldn't stand the dreams, couldn't stand the watching. The driver didn't blame him, but he didn't follow. He kept driving, back through every cursed path, back through every memory, chasing something or maybe being chased. And always that feeling, you were seen . So next time you think about taking a shortcut, don't. Roads go places for a reason. They wind where they're allowed. But if you ignore that, if you go looking for forgotten places, they might just look back. And when they do, they'll remember you. The truck, the face, the fear. They never forget, and they never forgive. Ever gone on a wild road trip with friends thinking it'd be all laughs, drugs, and freedom, only to stumble into something that felt wrong? Like the earth itself didn't want you there? Buckle up, because today's story starts with a joke and ends with a place that maybe shouldn't even exist. It was supposed to be the trip of a lifetime. 6 friends, motorcycles, and a map full of back roads no cop would ever think to patrol. The guy with the GPS in front was calling the shots, and the rest followed like a convoy of chaos, high as hell and vibing with the wind. Think Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, but with helmets and horsepower. No plan, no destination, just speed, psychedelics, and freedom. The world around them bent with the drugs. Colors were louder, shadows stretched longer, and every sound had a pulse. They were descending a narrow mountain road when things started to feel off. The light dimmed, even though it was still mid-afternoon. Trees grew thicker, like they were leaning in to listen. The wind that once howled past them slowed, and everything turned eerily still. That's when they entered the valley, a hollow basin, forgotten by time, hiding a ghost town swallowed by the hills. The buildings stood close together like they were conspiring. 10, maybe 15 in total. Windows boarded, doors chained, not a single sign of life. But it wasn't dead quiet, it was waiting. They pulled over near a crumbling roundabout to eat and stretch. That's when the weirdness really began. Scattered throughout the town were these sculptures. Twisted, rusted, humanoid things made from scrap metal and bone. One hunched on a rooftop, its spine too long, arms like blades. Another sat on a sidewalk like it had been frozen mid-scream. It wasn't the kind of art you'd see in a gallery. It was primal, angry, like someone was trying to make something remember. The kind of stuff that doesn't just come from a dark place, but lives there. Then they saw the hut. Dead cent in a roundabout was a corrugated metal structure, small, windowless, barely tall enough to stand in. It looked thrown together, but intentional. The edges were too sharp, the shape too strange. It gave off a vibe none of them could shake, like it had been waiting for them to arrive. One of the guys, still tripping hard, approached in a robotic voice and asked, "What's the purpose of this structure?" And yeah, they laughed until they heard it. A low rumble, mechanical, slow, heavy. From around the corner came a tractor, ancient and crawling, its engine growling like it was chewing gravel. But it wasn't just a tractor that made their blood run cold. The damn thing was decorated. A deer skull had been mounted to the top like a crown, its antlers rusted and cracked. Chains dragged behind it, some hung with bones. Feathers, symbols, and scraps of fabric flapped in the wind like old war trophies. It was moving toward them. No one was driving it. Silence collapsed over group. Laughter died mid-breath. The closer the tractor came, the more reality felt like it was bending in on itself. One of the guys whispered, "We have to go. Now." Nobody argued. They ran like held back to their bikes, gravel crunching beneath their boots, echoing like gunshots in the stillness. The sound of the tractor never sped up, just crept closer, relentless, like it knew they'd panic, like it wanted them to. They didn't look back. They didn't speak. They just rode. The mountain road twisted back on itself, and for a moment, the GPS started glitching, spinning, recalculating, then blank. No signal. The green turned brown. The map turned to static. They kept riding anyway, fueled by fear and adrenaline, until finally, the light broke through the trees and the world felt real again. But that feeling of being watched, that stayed. Days later, when the high had worn off and their minds had settled, the guy with the GPS tried to trace their route. Google Earth showed the mountains, the road, but not the valley. That entire area, a greenish-brown blur. No detail, no roads, no town. Just a smear on the map, like someone had tried to erase it, and didn't finish the job. The metadata was outdated. Satellite images from years ago showed nothing. He dug deeper, searched the county records. There had been a town there, briefly, some mining settlement that dried up decades ago, officially abandoned in 1973. No population, no maintenance, just a line on a document. No mention of the sculptures, no mention of a tractor, nothing about a metal hut, as if the place they'd visited had been overwritten with a sanitized version of history, or worse, replaced. They stopped talking about it after that. Jokes turned sour. Laughter became awkward silence. One of them, Derek, started sleeping with the lights on. Another, Sam, deleted all the photos from his phone, claiming they didn't come out right. One night, the GPS guy got drunk and admitted that when he looked back at the hut just before running, he saw movement inside. Not a person. Not exactly. Just motion. Like something tall and angular had shifted, ready to step out. None of them ever went back. They took the highways after that. Stayed sober. Swore off backroads completely. But that valley, it stuck with them. Sometimes, when they checked their phones late at night, they'd see the map glitch. That same greenish blur would flash across the screen, then vanish, like it was checking in, like it remembered. People say there are places that exist in the cracks. Off the grid, off the record, outside what we're supposed to see. Places that hide until someone wanders in by accident. Places that feed off that accident. Maybe they were lucky. Maybe running was enough. Or maybe the thing in the hut marked them that day. Maybe it's just waiting for one of them to come back. So next time you're on a road trip and your GPS goes quiet, if the air feels too still and the world starts to feel thin, don't stop. Don't explore. Don't laugh. Because some towns aren't forgotten. They're just hungry. Tonight's story comes straight from the dusty backroads of nowhere. A forgotten town with less than 100 souls. Ever wonder what secrets lie just beyond the edges of the map? What horrors wait for you in places that GPS refuses to acknowledge? Well, buckle up, because this one's about a group of friends who decided to explore the wrong dirt road and came face to face with something they were never supposed to see. You might think it's all just small town myths, but let's just say some roads were never meant to be traveled. It all started like any other boring night. We were kids from a microscopic town. One grocery store, 0 stoplights, and way too much time on our hands. Our favorite pastime? Cruising the dirt roads, playing music too loud, and pretending we had something to escape from. That night, we got a little more adventurous than usual. The stars were out, the radio was static-filled, and we were looking for trouble. That's when we decided to head further than we'd ever gone, just past the state line, barely 4 miles from home, but a world away from anything familiar. Crossing into the next state felt like stepping into a void. No self-service, no sign, just a tangled mess of trees and roads nobody had any business using. The dirt beneath the tires changed too. Less gravel, more clay. We laughed it off, claiming we were modern-day explorers, but the silence pressing against the windows said otherwise. Eventually, we spotted a narrow turnoff, a path swallowed by forest. No signs, no lights, just pure darkness. So, of course, we turn in. Because we were stupid. Because that's what people do in horror stories before everything goes wrong. The trees close in fast, gnarled and heavy, like they were leaning closer the deeper we drove. Then, the headlights caught something, a shimmer of metal, hanging from the branches, swaying gently despite the windless night. Machetes, at least a dozen of them, rusted, chipped, and hanging like decorations on some sick Christmas tree. A few feet later, knives! Then the doll part started. Porcelain arms, eyeless heads, decapitated plastic torsos strung up by their hair. Some of them looked freshly painted. Others had something red smeared across their cracked faces. Yeah, it wasn't paint. Nobody said a word. We were all frozen, watching in stunned silence as the forest revealed more of its madness. Bones dangled from fishing wire. Animal skulls nailed to tree trunks. A rusted tricycle sat beside the road, half swallowed by weeds. But there were no houses, no mailboxes, no fences, nothing to explain who would have set this all up, or why. The deeper we looked, the more obvious it became. This wasn't some Halloween prank. It wasn't art. This was ritualistic. This was deliberate. Someone or something had claimed this road as their own. Then came the sound, a soft dragging noise, like metal scraping across gravel. We turned off the engine, killed the lights, and listened. Nothing. Then thunk. Something hit the roof. We all screamed, flipped the headlights back on, and reversed like maniacs. That's when we saw it. A figure at the edge of the woods, just standing there, motionless, barefoot, holding something long in one hand. A blade, maybe? Its face was pale, reflective like bone. We didn't wait to find out. We hit the gas and tore down that cursed road like our lives depended on it. Because they probably did. We didn't stop for miles. Kept driving, taking turns at random, paranoid someone was following us. Every car headlight in the distance became a potential threat. Every shadow in the trees looked like that faceless figure. And the worst part? We couldn't shake the feeling that something had followed us. That whatever watched us from those woods didn't want us to leave. We drove in silence for an hour, hands white-knuckled on the wheel, hearts trying to punch through our ribs. Back home, we never told our parents. Who would believe us? Hey, Mom. We crossed into the next state and found a forest shrine made of murder weapons and doll corpses. No chance. But from that night on, things changed. The dirt roads we used to love felt smaller, heavier, like the trees whispered to each other about us. One of our friends started having nightmares, said he saw dolls in his backyard at night. Another refused to ever drive again. As for me, I started locking my bedroom window, even though we lived on the second floor. Weeks passed, then months. We tried to pretend it was just a freaky night, an abandoned movie set, some weird cult art installation. But deep down, we knew better. One day, we tried to find the road again. Same group, same car, even the same playlist. But it was gone, like the forest swallowed it back up. We drove in circles, past the state line over and over. Nothing, just empty roads and normal trees. Almost like it only existed that one night. Like it wanted us to find it and then disappeared. Now, years later, we don't talk about it much. The group drifted apart. One moved away without telling anyone. Another's in therapy. As for me, I still take the long way home. I avoid that part of the state entirely. But some nights, I swear I hear again that dragging metal sound. And once, I woke up to find a doll's arm on my porch. No note, no explanation. Just the arm, clean and pale. I threw away, but the next morning it was back, sitting in the exact same spot. So if you ever find yourself on a dirt road you've never seen before, out past the edge of the map, where no signals reach and the air smells like rust and rot, turn around. Trust your instincts. Because curiosity might not kill the cat, but it sure as hell might kill you. And if you hear something on your roof, don't look up, just drive. Drive like your soul depends on it. Because out there in the woods, something's still watching, still waiting, and it remembers exactly who you are.